coasters are usually behind the. They're not there. Just throw it up there. I'll get toast coasters when they show up. Thank you for being extra careful. Good evening.
There's one. Oh, sweet. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sevareid House. Thanks for coming out. Really appreciate you coming out to support live music and these great musicians. I'll tell you a little bit about them, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about, why we're doing this. It's been a really difficult time for musicians. They have lost all of their income the last couple of years pretty much. So it's really great to be able to gather together and support them, get them back working again. And I couldn't, I'm really lucky that I'm able to do this, but I couldn't do it except for a group of people that's been helping me keep this together for, I guess we're in our sixth season we've been doing these shows. Last 2 years we were totally outside, and we continued on, and then we came back in here in March, and this is our fourth show, I think. Yeah, fourth show this year. So, but I want to give a shout out, first of all, to Ken, the sound man, Ken Evinger. He makes it sound so great in here. I mean, I'm really lucky to live in a house that's just naturally, this room was made to have music. So, but he makes it sound even better. So couldn't do it without him. And John, who's the number one stage manager. He makes sure we don't trip over chords as they're looped all around here, and tapes everything down. And you don't see Nikki, but she's back in the in the library there, and she's in charge of all these cameras. And we're live streaming this show, so hello to everybody out there in live stream land. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to give generously to the artists. I believe their tip jar is listed in the notes for the live stream. But Nikki works with a group called Red Ramzor, and if you're interested in having any live streaming for any of your events, I highly recommend them, because if you go back and look at the YouTube page, you'll see what a fantastic and professional job they do, and we're really lucky to have them here. Yay, Nikki! And you all know Sandy at the front door. And anyway, so I just wanted to shout out to my crew, because they've been awesome, and we really couldn't do it without them. But House of Hamill, this is their first time at the Sevareid House, and I think you're really going to enjoy them. They I don't know if you saw in the YouTube videos I posted, but they put on a really energetic show. And I love their story that they met at a Folk Alliance event, and the rest is history. So, so please join me in giving a warm Sevareid House welcome to the House of Hamill.
It is so great to be here. Oh, you need that. We are House of Hamill, and we live outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, so not too terribly far away. And this is an amazing house concert. This is really cool. We're so excited to be here. This is such a great view. Sometimes we're looking at like TVs in a bar, so this is much better. Actually, the best is when, what's that one game sometimes people play? Like Plinko or something? Something? Yes, Keno. There was one bar we played where there was like 50 TVs in the same room with us and everyone was playing Keno.
2 of which were on stage behind us.
Yeah, that was awkward.
And we turned them off and the manager came running up and turned them back on and said, people are here to play Keno. I was like, oh, okay.
To be fair, it made it look like way more people were watching us, so we were there for it.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, we just came out with our 3rd full-length album. It's called Folk Hero. We just released it back in the fall. And this song is on it. And this song is one of the child ballads. Are you guys familiar with the child ballads? Anybody? Oh, okay. A couple
Few
folkies.
folk people.
Awesome. So
Julia Child wrote a bunch of ballads back in the 70s. Mostly they were recipes, really, but
Yeah.
you could put them to music and they're really quite
Totally,
compelling.
Totally. No. So, for those of you who don't know, there was a man named Francis Child, and this is back in the 1800s. He collected all of these ballads, like hundreds of them, and they don't really know why he picked the ballads that he did, but he liked really dark themes. He really liked like death and destruction, and I was noticing that, like I was reading through all these plot points because we like to take some of these old ballads and turn them into kind of more modern melodies. But I was noticing, reading through these plot points, that no matter what the song was, the woman would end up dead in some capacity. Usually she died alone in the woods.
And not as like an afterthought, like 4 verses devoted to the woman dying.
It was brutal. Or she would turn into a fairy who had to work for her entire life, and then she would be murdered. So I was getting really sick of reading these murder songs. And so I finally wised up and I actually Googled like child ballads where the woman survives to the end of the song. And there's 4 of them out of like 300. So it's not great for women back then. But this was one of those songs. And this is a song called William Taylor. And it's about a woman named Sarah who falls in love with this man named William Taylor. And he goes off to war, and she's sitting at home, and she's pining for him, as women did back in the day, I guess. And eventually she decides to dress up like a soldier, and she goes after William. And eventually, after some time passes, it's found out she's a woman, and her captain is asking her why she's there. And she says, I'm here to look for William Taylor because he's actually the love of my life. And he says, I know William Taylor because he just got married to the richest woman in town.
Oh, no.
Drama, yeah. Thank you. So I'll let you see what happens in this song. This is William Taylor.
This is called dramatic foreshadowing.
That's right.
William Taylor enlisted in the army. He's gone away. He's gone and left his own true love all alone to lay. Sarah dressed herself in a soldier's clothing, boots and pistol on. She's off to find her own true love. To find him she is gone, far away from home, into the world beyond. The captain came to her, knowing of a secret, asked what brought her here. I've come to find my own true love. Is William Taylor near? William Taylor, if he's the soldier from the town of Litchfield, oh I fear he's gone and wed a lady worth 10,000 pounds a year. Oh. Sarah comes for you. She woke early rising just before the dawning of the day. And she saw William Taylor with his lady diddy lay, and with her pistol, a pistol that was brought to her at her command, she shot William Taylor with his lady by his hand. Oh. Go on, William, run away and hide your lying heart. 10 million miles is still too few when Sarah comes for you. Captain came to her, thoroughly impressed in all that she had done. He made her commander of a ship and all its men, and never would she speak William Taylor's name again. Sarah comes for you. Oh, now it's Sarah's come for you.
Thank you.
So there's not really a moral to that story?
No.
We wouldn't say. We played a show in Maryland a few weeks ago, and it was put on by a folk music society, but it was at a Catholic university. And right at the moment when Sarah shoots William Taylor in that song, there were two old ladies sitting in the front who high-fived each other. We found out later they were nuns. So we figured there's like an origin story there somewhere.
Yeah.
We didn't ask.
Oh, so good, so good. These are a couple of new tunes from the album, and these are called Cat Bacon, which is not as horrifying as it sounds. But Brian and I wrote these reels together, and the story behind Cat Bacon is that we have this slightly obese cat named Bagheera.
He's doing better. We took him to the vet yesterday.
He's doing a lot better.
Down to 15 pounds.
Yeah, we're doing good things, yeah. But a few years ago, I was lying in bed one morning and I was just really depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed. And so Brian came in trying to cheer me up with a plate of breakfast, which normally I love. And he put it on the pillow next to me. I wasn't hungry, so I just kind of fell asleep. And when I woke up, our cat had jumped up on the bed and was like licking all of the salt off this breakfast. So I was watching him for probably 15 minutes, just like methodically licking the breakfast. And I was like, it's cool, you can have it. And I fell back asleep. And then when I woke up again, it seemed like not that much time had passed, but the cat was gone and the plate of food was gone, which I thought was weird because I hadn't heard anybody come in. And eventually I was lying there for a little bit and I was just so curious that I dragged myself out of bed and I looked down the hallway and Brian was sitting in our studio eating the plate of breakfast the cat had just licked every square inch of, which I thought was hilarious, to be fair. Big fan of that.
You ever want to know how to bring somebody out of a depressive funk? Takes a little setup, but the payoff was really worth it. Yeah.
Thanks.
So this is cat bacon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's Rose on fiddle.
Miss Rose.
Miss.
Oh my gosh. So strangely enough, 2 songs on our new album are inspired by true crime podcasts.
It's 2022, guys. It's like we don't travel the countryside from town to town learning songs from the minstrels. We just throw on our podcast app.
Do you know a lot of town minstrels?
A lot of town minstrels? Yeah, not as many as I used to.
Oh, really?
There's a whole app for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But this is one of those songs, and I'll let Brian tell the story.
Yeah, this song was inspired by a podcast called Criminal, which you may or may not be aware of. It's a podcast hosted by Phoebe Judge, who has this amazingly soothing voice as she tells you of the horrible things that humans are capable of doing. It's a weird thing to fall asleep to, but she had an episode of her podcast called Bully, and Bully focused on the story of a guy named Ken Rex McElroy, who Ken Rex was the bully of a town called Skidmore, Missouri, which is a real place, even though it sounds like I'm making all of this up. And when I say he was a bully, he basically did as he liked in this town for the better part of 3 decades. He was arrested, I think, 22 times or 23 times, and every single time, they were never able to make charges stick. He never did any time because he would do things like find out who's on the jury and shoot their dogs and burn their houses down. And yeah, he was quite an intimidating fellow. And after a while, they stopped even trying to prosecute this guy because everyone in the area was so terrified. And eventually, he took things a little too far. He went to the D&G, which is the only bar at the time in the town of Skidmore, and got into an altercation with somebody, pulled a gun and shot the guy in front of everybody. And the town decided if law enforcement wasn't going to help them, then they were going to have to find their own Missouri-specific way of dealing with this guy. And they held a town meeting in Skidmore Town Hall, after which, coincidentally, the only police officer in the county was called away to the next county on urgent business. And depending who you ask, between 40 and 60 members of the community left the town hall, swarmed around Ken Rex's pickup truck, which is parked out front of the DNG, and he was sitting in it drinking some beers, and at least 2 people shot him. And they just left him sitting there. Nobody called an ambulance, and they just left him with his truck running, and everybody dispersed to their homes. And that was the end of Ken Rex. And the amazing, I know it seems like every song we're singing is about vigilante justice and murder. There will be more of that, but that's not the point of this story. The crazy thing about the story is that this happened. He was shot and killed in the 1980s, and it's been 40 years with at least 40 or as many as 60 direct eyewitnesses to what happened, and no charges have ever been laid because no one in the town has ever broken the code of silence. So everybody in the county knows who killed Ken Rex, and depending how drunk they are, probably about 300 of them claim to have been the one, but nobody has ever actually been charged, and I guess that's how they took care of the bully. So this, once again, questionably moral song is this is called "The Bully of Skidmore Town." Coming, black smoke, dark cloud, blood in the water, gonna bring him down. McElroy was a monstrous man, but the local lawman let him wander free. 20 times arrested, busting blood red hands, till he took his gun into the DNG. Run, he's coming, black smoke, dark cloud, blood in the water, gonna bring him down. He shot 2 men for nothing in the middle of a town, and he took it any town, he talking tough. He terrorized their kids and burned their houses to the ground. Then one day his neighbors finally had enough. Oh, broken bones and blackened eyes. Oh, broken promises and lies. Oh, for the goodness of their town, they found the Skidmore bully and they bring him down. it down. 40 years of quiet prayers and solemn eyes. 40 people saw, but not a single shooter named. No one sheds a tear the day a bully dies. Oh, broken bones and blackened eyes. Oh, broken promises and lies. Oh, for the goodness of their town, they'd find a skateboard bully and they'd bring him down in broad daylight. So cold, so still. Not one soul is talking, and they never will. Thank you very much. We just came back from a trip to Scotland.
Yeah.
I play in another band called Enter the Haggis, and we did a trip over to Scotland with about 50 fans who jumped on 2 coach buses and harassed the countryside of Scotland for approximately 10 days with us. And it was a lot of fun, but we were in the museum, the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh, and we saw this weird display case where you could push different buttons and listen to old recordings of old Scottish songs, and one of the ones we found was this song, which we were already performing at the time.
Although it did sound nothing like our version, really.
No.
Much older version. I will say, Scotland it's kind of an interesting place. Has anybody been there before? Oh, okay, a bunch of you. Awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful country. I have to say, I feel like the people there are very, I don't want to say pessimistic. They're very realistic.
Accustomed to hardship.
Yes. Okay, that's a nice
You've
way
seen
to
the
put it.
weather.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but the one day Brian and I took a walk around this gorgeous, beautiful lake, and we were just walking along this path, and we saw the most hilarious looking English bulldog I've ever seen in my entire life. He looked ridiculous. He had this huge underbite.
Just like a sphere with legs sticking out.
It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Right. He would have rolled all the way down this driveway. I'm pretty sure.
Probably. And there's this older couple walking him, and I feel like if you own one of those dogs, you have to have kind of a sense of humor, because look at that, your dog. And so we walked up to them, and I walked up and I said, "Oh my gosh, I love your dog. He's so cute." And the woman just holding the leash just went, "He's very expensive." Just walked away, and I didn't really know what to make of that, so I just said, "Oh."
Looking back on it, we don't think she was bragging. We think she was complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't come across as a nose in the air thing at all. It was this dog is the bane of my
We say that all the time now about everything.
Yeah.
It's very
Incidentally,
expensive.
we do have T-shirts and CDs for sale in between sets, which are right around this corner.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? So here's a Scottish song. This is Johnny Cope. 2, 3, 4.
Cope sent a message from Dunbar. Charlie, meet me if you dare, and I'll teach you the art of war if you'll come to the coals in the morning. When Charlie looked this letter upon, he drew his sword, the scabbard from sand. Follow me, my brave young man, and we'll meet Johnny Cope in the morning. Hey Johnny Cope, are you walking yet? Or are your drums a beating yet? If you were walking, I would wait to go to the coals in the morning. Johnny, be as good as your word and meet me here with fire and sword, and don't you run like a frightened bird that flies returns to his nest in the morning. When Johnny Cope, he heard of this, he thought he wouldn't be amiss to have his horse in readiness to fly away in the morning. Hey Johnny Cope, are you walking yet? Or are your drums a beating yet? If you were walking, I would wait to go to the goals in the morning. Fly now, Johnny, get up and run. The drums of war beat such a sound. It's best to wake in your own horse skin. It'll be a bloody morning. When Johnny Cope to Dunbar came, they called to him, where's Iron Man? The devil take me if I know, for I left them all in the morning. Hey Johnny Cope, are you walking yet? Or are your drums a beating yet? If you were walking, I would wait to go to the goals in the morning. Hey Johnny Cope, are you walking yet? Or are your drums a beating yet? If you were walking, I would wait to go to the goals in the morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Tell them about that last tune.
Oh my gosh. So that last tune, if there's any, are there any fiddle nerds out there? No? Well, too bad. I'm going to tell you guys
There's
anyway.
a pity fiddle nerd in the front.
Okay. So that last tune that I just played is called The Golden Stud, and I'll never forget the name of that because probably like 4 years ago now, we played an Irish music conference in Wisconsin, and basically you get to go up and play like showcase 4 songs, and then you talk to like festival organizers after. So we ended with that song, and I jumped off stage, I was putting my fiddle away, and this older gentleman came up to me and went, do you know the name of that last tune? And I'm like, I think it's called The Golden Stud, but I'm not totally sure. And he's like, oh, do you know who wrote it? I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't. I'm sorry. And he just goes, I did. I mean, to be honest, if I were that guy, I would have done the exact same thing. But I think he just relished that. So good, yeah. Oh, my God. So I'll pull Brian up on the fiddle here. I guess 2018, we started doing all violin covers that we released on like YouTube and Facebook just because it's fun and it's something totally different. Bohemian Rhapsody almost ended our marriage, but we got through it. Would not recommend. But I think this was the third one that we ever did. And I think you guys will recognize this one. Thank you. So this is the other song inspired by a true crime podcast.
Yes. And I'll tell you the story of this one too quickly because it's another pretty incredible story. There's a podcast called In the Dark. Anybody? A couple, yeah. It's put together by APM Reports, American Public Media Reports, and it's an investigative journalism podcast where every season they do a deep dive for the entire season into one particular injustice, real or perceived, and the second season of In the Dark focused on the story of a man named Curtis Flowers. And Curtis, if you've never heard of him, holds the distinction of being the only American tried for the same crime 6 times. And the only way that can happen is if... So in Curtis's case, he was railroaded onto death row by a prosecutor who I don't think there's any real argument that he was racist. Decided that it was an election year and he needed to find closure on a quadruple murder in the town of Winona, Mississippi. And he put the blame on Curtis under very suspicious circumstances and very flimsy evidence. And got a few supposed eyewitnesses and some jailhouse testimony, and wound up getting Curtis convicted in front of an all-white jury. And he was put on death row. He appealed the conviction, and it was overturned on appeal due to prosecutorial misconduct. And the amazing thing is, when your case is overturned due to prosecutorial misconduct, two things don't happen. The prosecutor's not fired, and you're not set free. You're sent back to jail to wait and see whether or not the prosecution wants to retry your case. And in Curtis's case, it would have been political suicide for Doug Evans to just let him go, and so he decided to try him again. And the second time, it was a hung jury. So he went back to prison, and then they tried him again, and it was another conviction sending him to death row, and it was overturned again because of a different kind of a violation on behalf of the prosecution. And this kept on happening. For 23 years, Curtis was kept on death row at Parchment Prison in Mississippi, which is one of the worst prisons in the world, probably. And eventually, this podcast, In the Dark, got wind of his story, sent a few of the reporters to live in Winona for about a year and a half, where they interviewed everybody in town at least once, and they managed to put together enough exculpatory and contradictory evidence that when Curtis's final 6th conviction was escalated all the way up to the Supreme Court on appeal, they upheld the appeal based on the evidence introduced by the podcast, and they set Curtis free after 23 years. So I'm not going to say it's a happy ending, but Curtis is a free man today, based on the work of some very brave and intrepid investigative reporters showing the value, once again, of a free and fair press and support for very brave journalists, and also the importance of shining light into dark places. So we called this one after the podcast. This is called In the Dark. Quiet in the empty street, quiet in the summer heat, crows circled over like a warning in the sky. Shots like the winter's grip, shots like a lashing whip, tore through Winona one morning in July. Fear in their hearts and eyes, fear's where the money lies. Those bearing witness sold their honor for a fee. Heaven's a southern sun, heaven's appointed one, locked flowers in the dark and threw away the key. There's no answer, but still they try to find guilt in innocent eyes, illuminate a life inside, or flowers will die. Crooked before a trial, crooked like Evan's smile, striking a jury for the color of his skin. Again and again he tried flowers for his own pride, true to his conviction to condemn him for his sin. There's no answer, but still they try to find guilt in innocent eyes, illuminate a life inside, or flowers will die in the dark. The days are long and the years go by, like a river wild, like a river raging, and faces fade and darkness grows inside these walls, inside of me. The world outside left me behind, and I'm alone, and I am aging. In timeless bars I long to find a way to fly and to be free. For the lives undone, fight for the honest ones, fight to determine whether he will live or die. Far from his family, 5, 10, now 23 years up in Parchment where he never sees the sky. Daylight on hallowed halls, daylight where shadows fall, he flies for freedom like a bullet from a gun. Far from his prison walk, far from or see the sun. There's no answer, but still they try to find guilt in innocent eyes. There's no answer, but still they try. There's no answer, but still they try to find guilt in innocent eyes. Illuminate our life inside. Our flowers will die in the dark.
That's Brian on vocals. It's a lot of words.
You know what that means?
Oh, you're okay.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, we have unfortunately lost the stream, so we're just going to take a brief second to awkwardly talk to you guys while we reset the stream.
Perfect.
We have no end of embarrassing tour stories that
Oh
we
my
can share,
God.
so it's
No, I know. Thank you, guys. We're going to take a really short break. We'll be back soon. Cheers.
Good work, good work, good work. That's okay.
in post, Photoshop. It's all good.
Thank you, guys. Welcome back.
How many of you did laps up and down the driveway during the break? Anybody?
Nice.
We were saying we make sure that at the beginning of festival season we play at least one show at this elevation, so we're ready for the whole season. It's like training for the Olympics in Mexico City.
Well,
Actually, I was impressed. We were sitting up there writing our set list, watching everyone come walking up the driveway, and you all had very sensible footwear for the
very
uphill
impressed.
climb. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Almost, I see many of you disputing that fact.
Well, we're going to do one from our last album now, March Through Storms. And we actually wrote this before the pandemic.
Yeah, weirdly.
And before 2016.
Yeah.
But this is a song we wrote called Snake Oil.
There was a rich man who walked on water, who ran the seas from here to India. They said he'd free the land from silent winter, and he could turn lead into gold. In the village, he sold his potions to cure disease and fight hysteria. We believe what he was selling would be the answer to all of our prayers. Down on our knees, he will answer our prayers. And in the village, the wells were empty. We'd sweat all day, but nothing grew. And as our bodies baked under a heartless sun, we would wait for salvation to come. But the rich man, he just kept preaching about the world just beyond our walls. We'd been deceived, we believed, demanding how could it be the answer to all of our prayers? How could this man answer all of our prayers? Crop was wasted, and so we seized our destiny. We dragged him to a barren riverbed where we lashed him secured to a tree. And in the morning, the heavens opened, the rain came down, he was washed away, and we were free, no longer powerless. We'd answered all of our prayers. We found the answer to all of our prayers. And we were the answer to all of our prayers.
Thank you so much. So here's a song that we didn't write, although we wish we did. Does anybody know Doogie McLean? Does anyone know that name? A couple of you? All right.
Do you know the
Chris.
song Caledonia? This is a different song. Don't play it! Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
It's not Caledonia.
We won't. You don't want to hear me sing Caledonia.
No. This is another song Doogie wrote that we fell in love with on our new album, and it's called Turning Away. 2, 3, 4.
And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away, turning away.
On the water we have walked like the fearless child. What was fastened we've unlocked, revealing wondrous wild. And in search of confirmation we have jumped into the fire and scrambled with our burning feet through uncontrolled desire. And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away from here. There's a well upon the hill from our ancient past, where an age is standing still, holding strong and fast. And there's those that try to tame it and carve it into stone, but words cannot extinguish it, however hard they're thrown. And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away from here. On Lochnative they have worked with their Highland dreams. By Kilcrennan they have nourished in the mountain streams. And in searching for acceptance they have given it away. Only the children of their children know the price they had to pay. And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away. And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away from here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we've been thinking a lot recently about all of our travels, because obviously none of us could travel for the last couple of years. And right before the pandemic happened, we were lucky enough to go to Portugal. Like we had gone to Ireland with one of Brian's band's trips. And afterwards we decided we were going to go to Portugal because it was such a short plane ride away. And the other guy in Brian's band is named Trevor, and he had gone to Portugal directly before Ireland, so we were gonna get all the tips from him and ask him where to go. So we were talking to him in Ireland, and he's like, "Oh, it's so cool! You guys are going to Portugal next. Like, how are you getting around? What cities are you going to?" And so we were talking for a bit, and I said, "Oh yeah, so we rented a car, so we're just gonna go between like mostly Lisbon and Porto. It's a 3-hour drive, whatever." And he was like, "Oh, that's great. No, it's great to have a car and have that independence. Which one of you is driving?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's in Brian's name. He's driving." And he's like, "I didn't know Brian drove stick." I was like, "No, Brian doesn't drive stick. We got an automatic."
Fun fact, they don't rent automatics in Portugal. We didn't know that. But Rose, to her credit, was like, "Oh, it'll be fine. I'll just drive." And I was like, "Do you know how to drive stick?" And like, "Oh, well, my mom gave me a lesson in her Mini when I was 17 in a Walmart parking lot for an hour."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we'll probably be fine now.
I don't know what happened, guys. I had this like weird sense of false confidence. It was like very strange. It was just
And
like
very false.
very. Yeah, it was. But at the time, oh my God, just oozing confidence. I was like, I got this. I know how to do it. So we got there, and it's kind of different over there. The woman actually walked us out to our rental car, and it was in Brian's name, so only Brian was allowed to drive. And so he got in the driver's seat, and I got in the passenger seat.
And we're just like waiting for her to leave.
She's like standing there with a clipboard.
And she's standing there waiting for us to like back out and leave in this rental car. And I'm like, I cannot start this car with this woman watching. So I'm like adjusting the mirrors, adjusting these. I took out like the Portuguese manual for the car, and I was paging for, very important to read the manual before you.
We always read the
drive
manual
a rental
before we
car
rent the car. Yeah.
in Portuguese.
Yeah, always. So finally, I think she got bored. She left, and we quickly switched places. And so I backed out of this garage. Of course, I stalled it like 3 times, backing it up. But I finally backed it up, and I got it into first. And I was like trying to find the exit, and I finally found it. It was a steep ramp going up. Keep in mind, this is 9 p.m. at night. It's dark. A steep ramp going into a 5-lane roundabout with red lights.
With stoplights at every intersection.
It's like hard mode. Ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So,
and just crammed with cars.
oh my God, it was so crazy. So we were like in a main city. So yeah, it was incredibly busy. And I got it up the ramp. We got it around the roundabout maybe once, and then we hit a red light. So I stalled the car to the red light. We got it there. And then, of course, it turned green, and I tried to put it into first, and of course, I stalled it. So everyone's beeping at me and yelling at me in Portuguese. And we probably did this maybe 3 times. Brian's trying to get the GPS going because I have no freaking clue where I'm going. So we're just going around the roundabout over and over.
The best part was when Rose's problem-solving skills kicked in, and she's like, well, every time I stop, I'm stalling. So I'm just not going to stop anymore. So it was just like building up momentum until she could break free from orbit and slingshot herself around the sun onto the highway.
Ran a few red lights, yeah. And then we finally got on the highway, got into 5th, and I was like, we're just going to be in 5th for the rest of this trip. That's my skill right now. So
made for some exciting toll booths.
Yeah, it was
really exciting.
It's wild. Yeah, so finally we got to the city where we were going, and of course, as we're pulling up to this Airbnb driveway, I missed the driveway, and I was like, damn it, okay. So I logically just pulled into the next available, what I thought was a street, which turned out to be a very steep down ramp into a private parking garage that was closed, and I needed a key fob to get in. So
and of course, as soon as she turned, 2 cars pulled in
because of course. So yeah, I'm like sitting there. They're beeping at me to go in. I can't go in, and I can't back up now. So I'm just sitting there, and everyone's yelling at me.
I had to get out of the car and go convince these angry Portuguese people in the middle of the night that they had to leave their own home and go somewhere else for a while.
Leave, get out of here.
You just leave us to deal with this. And poor Rose, it was like a horror movie because every time, so they left, and she's sitting there in this car, and every time she nerved herself up to try and put it in reverse and back up, it would like clunk into gear, stall, and fall another foot closer to the doors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she had a very controlled and ladylike total public meltdown.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But to her credit, she got the car out onto the street, parked it, threw the keys at me, and said, I'm not driving this car ever again. Which was only a problem because we rented it in Lisbon and we were now in Porto. So it was my job to get the rental car back to Lisbon, which I wound up just going on Reddit and just searching on the Portugal subreddit to see if anybody needed to get from Porto to Lisbon in the next few days who could drive stick. And I found 17-year-old Leandro, who said that he would come up and visit his brother in Porto for a couple hours and then drive our sorry asses back to Lisbon.
Yep. And we were like sending people our location. We're like, in case this guy turns out to be like some crazy serial killer, just so you know, this is where we are. And he really was just a 17-year-old college kid.
Like didn't need to shave, backwards ball cap, comes sauntering up the street. And like looked at us like we were the idiot tourists we were and got us back to Lisbon.
Yeah, he really did.
Awkward 3-hour drive listening to Portuguese EDM, but it was he was a nice guy. He's probably watching right now. Hey, Leandro. All true. I don't know if there's any guitar players here. Said Chris, when you get like 30 seconds into a set of tunes and realize that your E string has slipped to this. I hope you guys saw me frantically trying to retune every time I hit an open chord that I had a hand for a second. It's very nice. Thank you. Not sure I ever quite got there, but.
Well, this is a song that we wrote early in the pandemic. I think February of 2020. Wildly. Has nothing to do with the pandemic. I know, so naive. But yeah, this is a song Brian and I wrote together. It's called Ladder to the Sun.
Quietly he walks through the door. Will he know her anymore? Vines growing over, shadows where the photos used to be, like distant memories, shoulder to shoulder, like a ladder to the sun. A letter to no one, holding back the endless sea, running through the trees, coming back to see her once again. Sitting on the floor where he slept, uneven and unswept, vines growing over. None of that was part of any plan, but in his heart he understands. They're getting older, like a ladder to the sun, a letter to no one, holding back the endless sea, running through the trees, coming back to see her once again. In his mind she'll always be home, and he's not alone. Carefully he steps in the bath, he can almost hear her laugh. Vines growing over, all of that is well in the past. It was never built to last, but still he knows her, like a ladder to the sun, a letter to no one, holding back the endless sea, running through the trees, coming back to see her once again. In his mind she'll always be home, and he's not alone. Thank you very much.
Just casually spilling water all over the table. It's fine. Pull Brian back up on the fiddle here. And we're going to do a piece now. Some of you actually may recognize this one. This was featured in the Ken Burns Civil War series. Yes, I'm sure you'll recognize it. And it was written by Jay Unger, who's an amazing violinist and composer. I think we've played this piece more than any other piece. Thank you. Thank you. You're so nice. It's one of those things, you know when the freaking glass sticks to the coaster? Oh, good, yeah. Actually, I was wondering about that. I think we've played this piece more than any other piece we've ever done, probably. So anyway, this is a Shokin Farewell. Thank you so much. All right, you ready? Now for something completely different. Thank you so much. Thank you. Like I said, very different from the last song. Change gears a little bit there. Well, we're getting to the end of our set here. So we want to thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. This is awesome. We love this area and playing in this area. Thanks so much to Janet.
This is a very, very special thing we got going on.
Yeah, this is such a beautiful place. And Ken on sound, Ken and John, both. I mean, thank you guys for making it sound great. And Nikki back there, running all the live stream stuff. Thank you guys. I know it's a lot of work doing all this stuff, so thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really quite incredible.
Yeah, this is an amazing house concert. So we're going to leave you guys with one more. This is from our last album, and this is a song written by a man named Ed Pickford, who is from England. And to be fair, I had heard the song my whole life, and I really thought this was like an old traditional song, and so I was introducing it that way until someone gently told me.
Same guy came. No,
I would die. No, some guy came up to me after a show and said, "Actually, just so you know, that song was written by Ed Pickford." I assumed Ed Pickford was long dead because it sounds like such an old song, so I was introducing it that way. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, I figured that, but then I was on Facebook one day, and Ed Pickford came up as someone I may know, and I friend requested him, and he accepted. So I guess he's doing okay.
Ed's okay. Yeah.
Ed's doing fine.
Not dead.
Not dead.
They wish each other happy birthday every year now. It's really cute.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. And so I told him that we covered his song, and he told me he wrote this when he was 16 years old and thought nobody would ever care about it. So we care about it.
Yeah.
It's a really cool song. So anyway, this is Pound a Week Rise.
Thanks,
Thank you guys so
cheers.
much. 1, 2, 3.
Come on, you colliers. They work down the mine from Scotland to South Wales, from Teesdale to Tyne. I'll sing you a song of a pound a week rise and the men who are fooled by the government's lies. And it's down you go, down below, Jack, where you never see the sky, and you're working in a dungeon for a pound a week rise. In 1960, just a few years ago, the mine workers leaders to Lord Robins did go, saying we work very hard and every day we risk our lives, and we ask you here and now for a pound a week rise. It's down you go, down below, Jack, where you never see the sky, and you're working in a dungeon for a pound a week rise. Then up spoke Lord Robins, and he made this decree: when the upward rises, then with you I will agree to raise up all your wages, to give to you fair pay. For I was once a miner, and I worked hard in my day. It's down you go, down below, Jack, where you never see the sky, and you're working in a dungeon for a pound a week rise. The miners, they went, they worked hard and well, with lungs full of coal dust in the bosom of hell. The output rose by 16, 18% and more, and when 2 years had come and gone, it rose above a score. And the miners, they went to get their hard-won prize, to ask Lord Robins for his pound a week rise. Robins wouldn't give a pound, he wouldn't give 10 bob, he gave them 7 and 6 and said, get back to your jobs. So come on, you colliers, take heed what I say, and don't believe the coal board when they say you'll get fair pay. 'Cause they'll tell you to work hard just to make the output rise. You'll get pie in the sky instead of a 1 pound rise. And it's down you go, down below, Jack, where you never see the sky, and you're working in a dungeon for a pound a week rise. And it's down you go, down below, Jack, where you stars in the sky, and you're working in a dungeon for £1 a week rise. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. Cheers. We've got nowhere to go, so we'll do another one for you. It'd be really awkward if we left, considering we're sleeping here. It'd be really weird. We're just going to go for a drive, and we'll... Oh my gosh.
All right. I don't know if there's any sports fans here. I'm currently ignoring the fact that the Maple Leafs are probably once again losing in Game 7. It's what they do. I'm from Toronto. I'm used to it. But we... generally speaking, don't pay much attention to sports, and Rose named this next set of tunes in honor of that. This is the Superb Owl set.
Yep.
Because every Super Bowl Sunday, she just brings up pictures of superb owls instead.
Yeah.
So it becomes Superb Owl Sunday.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. Bummer. Thank you guys so much. Please come say hi to us over here. We'd love to meet you all. Thank you guys. Have a good night.